we were talking earlier before the show that there's such a large target on seniors for identity theft. I mean,
Absolutely.
I know it's worldwide, but why do you think seniors are such a big target for credit theft?
I can almost answer that in one sentence, and that is because they are home. And as far as you're talking about identity theft or targeting them for all kinds of theft, because my concern is because they are home so much, they get the phone calls and that sort of thing. So
the telemarketers scam.
Right, but that ties into the identity theft, because if they get them into what's called a circular talk, depending on what their motive is, if they're just trying to sell them a product, they may or may not win that battle. But if they're trying to seek their identity as well, so it's a twofold. It's not just a scam, perhaps, to which they're selling them something that they don't want, but it could go much further. They could be suddenly grabbing pertinent information like a Social Security number or a bank number or something. And I explained to seniors, you will a bank will never call you and ask you any of this ever, or ask you for your Social Security or that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I wondered if that had something to do with that generation being less technologically oriented. I mean, since everything's written out or checks are, handed. I mean, I don't know if there's information passed on. Although through technology and electronics, we have our own identity situation, problems.
Yeah, I think that plays into it in part. I certainly have a lot of seniors in my life that are very technologically savvy, perhaps even more than myself. But what I think it comes down to, it absolutely falls back on how they were raised. Just trust. I was just going to say trusting. I don't like to say that because they also are very aware too. You have an extremely large population of very intelligent people, so they know when something is right or wrong, but they don't necessarily know how to handle it, and that's what I see a lot of more than anything. They're very savvy, very intelligent people, our aging population, but they don't always know how to actually handle what's in front of them,
right.
And that's where I told you about doing the script by the phone.
I was going to say, going back to the credit theft that happens a lot with seniors being at home much more often. What is something they can do to prevent like a telephone scam?
Well, what I advise my clients to do. Because they are one of the largest targets because they're home, is I just suggest that they put a script by their phone, and it can be something that certainly they can write themselves, or they might have a daughter or a son help them, or a loved one, so that it's a simple script. It's something they're comfortable with, so that when that telemarketer comes through, because again, if it's the bad telemarketer. They will have what's called a circular talk. They will have been taught that, and they will just keep finding a way to try to get around and around and around. Absolutely. But if you have this script that you have, that no matter what's coming at you, you know what you're going to say. I mean, you can also certainly hang up the phone. I'm not saying that you engage in conversation, but if you're someone that doesn't feel comfortable in just closing down the phone or having an unlisted number and you don't want to do that, it's just a script is great because you're comfortable with it. You're never going to come off the script. You got your own little circular talk.
Absolutely. And then hang up the phone.
Absolutely.
I think that's great.
It keeps you polite and it keeps you, on time.
Yeah, another thing is Social Security cards. Now, I don't carry one, but I do know that a lot of seniors were taught that you should always have it with you in your wallet.
Absolutely.
And why is that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because it's your Social Security number, of course, and what can happen is they can fall into the wrong hands. And I always ask people when I'm with them, and it's in a comfortable arena of either I'm doing a presentation or I'm just working with them one-on-one, I'll just say, do you have your Social Security card on you? And they often say yes, and I say, well, would you please consider removing it? And what I explain to people, it's a good idea to just put it home in a safe place, let your daughter or son or whomever, a loved one, know where it is so that if you ever do need it, but most likely you're not ever really going to need it. But if somebody were to grab your bag or you to leave it on transit, transportation,
you can use for identity theft.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's more than they need. It's just one more thing to give them, and you don't need to do that.
And there's actually a number available that is great access, which I didn't know about, for a lot of different information for seniors. And what is that?
That's a great question. It's just dial 211, and it's an access to many different resources. You are going to get a recording most likely, actually sometimes not always, but it's always going to be there available for you. So depending on what you need as far as help with anything, whether it's health care. Yes. Well, no, it's actually for everybody. I mean, because it's like a health source, but it's geared towards absolutely for seniors, because it can help with health care, with insurance, with almost anything. It will sadly menu it out for you, because sometimes people don't like working with menus, but absolutely it's geared for seniors.
I think that's great. So just dial 211,
yep.
just like they would dial
Yep.
411. That's
Yep.
wonderful. And I think that's a great tip to organizing tips for seniors, which
absolutely.
is our topic
Absolutely.
today. What about finances? Now, you believe that only one name should be on any bank account. And why is that? I mean, what if a son or daughter wants to have access to that?
Right. What I advise people, because I see it a lot, I see it more than I don't, and I'll see where, because I'm paying, I'm doing bill paying, for individuals, and I'll see that they have, of course, their name on there, but they have maybe, Susan, their daughter, or John, their son. The reason I will explain to them once I, know them and feel comfortable, just that I suggest that they remove the name and create a PO, have the child or who's ever on there become a POA, a power of attorney, a power of attorney, because then they have the same options of, if they need to get into the account for whatever reason, or need to help with anything or whatever, they will have access to that. The downfall of keeping someone on it that should not be on it and attached to those funds is if something happens in their life, the child's life, or who's ever on there, a sibling or whomever, if something happens in their life, a negative thing, they owe back taxes and from the IRS or anything, with something like that, with an account, the IRS is going to absolutely go in and scoop from that the very first time. The very first time out of the ballpark, they will go right after that account, because it's easy access, it's cash or whatever, and that person's name on it, so they technically own it.
Very interesting. So one name on it, and if a child wants to have access to it, they should be just written up as POA,
yep,
power of attorney.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. And now, let's say someone's watching right now that is considering assisted living for their parents or for themselves. Is there a place to find out how one facility compares to another? To me, that would be an endless task.
Right.
Is there listings or postings?
There are. The elder care lawyers certainly help with that, but you can also go on the webpage of Medicare, Medicare.gov or any of the Medicare sites, and they will give a full listing of there's 263 roughly, well, that's nursing homes, but you can also do assisted living, and they will not only give you the names of them, but they'll also rate them. You'll get a rating on them.
I mean, as far as pricing or medical benefits?
What the rating is, no, not so much the pricing, but what they'll do is they'll rate them. You've got 5 stars, and so you want to sort of stay towards the 3, 4s, and 5s for all the obvious reasons. And it's a benchmark, but it's a good benchmark, because the ratings are on how their staff performs, their cleanliness, the things that you really want to be in touch with. Right. So it's a great site to do that.
And even opening the mail, I think, can be a task for some seniors. Are there a lot of credit fraud with mailers? I mean, because they're still mailing so many checks. Right. I would think that a lot of mail fraud is even directed to seniors. You actually help people with opening mail.
I do, and that's a great thing to bring to this forum, because I do see that a lot. But what I also tell people is, and this is a really interesting thing, and this is a cool thing, where if you think you're getting a lot of mail fraud, you can take it and put it in an envelope, write on it to the U.S. Post Office, I do believe this is mail fraud, because they want to see this. They want this. They're very interested in this. And you don't have to put any postage on it. You don't have to mail it. You put it in your own mailbox, and your carrier will pick it up, and they take it very seriously. So if you think anything is even remotely on the wrong side of the tracks, like I say, put it in an envelope, right on there, the Postmaster General, and they take it very seriously, and they can stop that coming to your house.
That's a great lesson for all of us.